Hey everyone, True Red here. Hope everybody is healthy and well and safe. I wanted to use this evening kind of as a public service announcement to discuss my experiences with hypertension and the medications that I've used and the side effects that have come along with that. I would first like to acknowledge the research team from Boston University that has conducted a 25-year longitudinal health study for Black women. It's called the Black Women's Health Study, and I've actually been a participant for 25 years. When I think about it, it's just amazing to participate in the improvement and the betterment of my folks. I don't even know how I got involved, but I have been. And I know every quarter or so we get surveys, we have to answer questions about our health and our lifestyles and that kind of thing. So I did want to acknowledge them. We know that the health of Black folks don't matter, particularly Black women. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that I've had. I have some friends who have the same challenges, and we've discussed this over the past couple of months, so I thought this would be a good time to talk about it. I have suffered from hypertension, the anxiety and stress that have been bestowed upon me from the systemic racism that I've dealt with in the state of New Jersey, fighting for my livelihood, at the hands of Department of Children and Families. And you all know my story, and I will talk about that more at a later date, but that is the root of a lot of my health problems. And oftentimes we're told that Black people are predisposed to, all these diseases, hypertension, diabetes, and there are no discussions about the external stressors that inflict these diseases. I have been on many different medications because I have a zero tolerance to meds. And when you can't tolerate medication, it's very difficult to find something that your system can tolerate effectively. The first medication I want to talk about is amlodipine, also known as Norvasc, and that's oftentimes used for Black folks because it works well with our bodies and we can handle it. But what you don't know about it is that I had a physician tell me that unless there are side effects that are life-threatening, they may not be included on the pamphlet, or a physician may not bring it to your attention. I was on this medication off and on for a period of years. I noticed the last time that I was on it, I began to gain weight, and I gained over a course of, I would say, 2 or 3 months, maybe 15 pounds. And I thought that it was my new, mature woman's body. So I began to embrace it, threw clothes out, brought in bathing suits, everything. Um, and I could not understand how this weight continued. And I hadn't changed my diet. I exercised, nothing changed. It wouldn't be until 2 months ago when my new physician took me off of that medication where the weight dropped off. So I Googled it, I Googled the medication, and it was one of the major side effects, which was rapid weight gain and water retention. So all of the weight that I had in my arms, my extremities, my legs, my calves was all water. And so I think it's so important for us to know this because there's some who suffer from diabetes, and we know that you can attribute weight gain and excessive weight to that. So that's one thing that if you're on amlodipine, this is not, please don't take away that I'm saying to not take your medication. You have to. And when you change medications, you have to be guided by a physician because it could cause you a heart attack, stroke, other illnesses if you just take yourself off of blood pressure medication. I think that the key is to stabilize your pressure and then introduce all of the natural medications, the natural remedies that we know that help lower high blood pressure. Garlic pills, there's odorless garlic pills. Making tea with fresh garlic is another way. I've heard people use applesauce. I've heard people use onions. I know the things that work for me are fresh garlic, odorless garlic pills, and applesauce was one of the things that worked for me also. One of the other medications that I was put on recently was carvedilol, and this is what prompted me to bring this message to you. I was put on a dose that was too low. The dose was then increased. I then started to notice that I couldn't sleep. 3 hours max was what I was getting every night. If I don't have sleep, consecutive hours of sleep over, a period of time, of course, that opens all of us up to a decreased immune system. Immediately, I got a cold right after being awake for 2 weeks straight, 3 hours a night sleep. I was also experiencing like crazy dreams, and I thought it was because I was not getting into my REM sleep that would allow me to sleep and relax. Googled it, and there it said, carvedilol not only causes insomnia, it causes nightmares. And that's because it's a beta blocker, and it blocks your natural melatonin that gets you to sleep. And that's what I was experiencing, in addition to nightmares. Got off of that. My sleep patterns are back to normal. Some of the other things that I've been on, enalapril was one of the other medications a few years ago that I was on. And I was away on vacation. I noticed that my lips began to swell, and I thought it was from the sun. I thought it was from the Blistex that I used on my lips. And it wouldn't be until a couple of years ago that I saw somebody post something on Facebook, and they showed how Black folks, how our lips and noses had become deformed from the swelling from enalapril. Enalapril also can cause like a really dry cough, which was one of the other side effects that I experienced. One of the other things was atenolol, which is also a beta blocker. And you have to know that beta blockers are to protect your heart, but it blocks your body's natural ability to create vitamin B and other things. So I noticed I was on this medication maybe 18 months. I gradually started to notice that my hair was thinning in the crown, and it wasn't falling out. I couldn't see it, but I know it was like gradual, very slowly. I started to notice until one day I had my daughter look in the back because I couldn't see it with the mirror, and it was bald. I Googled the medication. The major side effect was major hair loss. And this is something that the doctors are not going to share with you. There were testimonials from about 100 and something women all said the same thing. They said when they stopped taking the medication, they immediately started to have hair regrowth, and that's what happened with me. Immediately, my hair started to regrow, and I was told that again, it's because the beta blockers block your vitamin B. This is not a message to tell you to stop taking your high blood pressure medication. I'm telling you, if you're on medication, I have friends who take it sporadically. You have to take your high blood pressure medication every day or as prescribed. Once you get your pressure stabilized, then possibly you can start to introduce to your diet some of the natural remedies that I mentioned earlier to possibly reduce your pressure. And that's what happened to me. I was able to come off some of the medication because I was doing the natural, the garlic pill, odorless garlic pill. I was boiling fresh garlic in water and making a tea. And so that reduced my pressure. In addition to exercise, of course, we have to exercise and maintain your levels of immunity. We know that that's so important also. Proper diets, no sodium, no added salt. We love to add salt. You cannot. You can't eat these processed foods because that contributes also. So I just really wanted to share this. Those are just some of the things. Again, we have to understand that oftentimes we're told that it's we're predisposed to these diseases, and oftentimes it's not true. And so when we hear now, there's all this talk about reparation. I am all for Black folks operating independently. I wish we would stop looking to other folks. But guess what? I'm all for reparation. So after we get cash, I'm for cash, I'm for land, then we can start operating independently. But I am absolutely for reparation. There has been irreparable harm done to Black folks. And I said this last week, generationally. I want to be reimbursed for the raping of the women, Black women, the raping of Black men, the division of our families, the slave labor, things that we built for this country and did not get compensated for, the medical experimentations that occurred on Black folks, Black women who were experimented and operated upon without anesthesia right here in liberal New York, North Jersey, New York City, the North. I want reparation for all of that. The miseducation of our children, the mass incarceration of Black men, mass incarceration of Black men, low-level marijuana dealers. And now you can buy marijuana here. So I'm just saying, I'm all for reparation. I'm for all of that. So let's work on becoming more independent, helping our families, sharing information. Let's release that crabs in a barrel mentality, because as long as we hold on to that, there's no progress that can be made. So let's do all those things, and let's share information, which is so key and so important. You guys be safe and be well out there. Talk to you next time. Thank you.